Hey, I'm Bobby from Longtooth Llama Games. I'm developing No Gods of Men, which is a game that combines 2D roguelite action with base building and colony management, all in a hand-drawn dark fantasy world that should feel like you're playing off the pages of a comic book. Now, this is Devlog number 2, and the lesson I learned from Devlog number 1 was that I need to hold the microphone closer to my mouth. And so, in today's video, I want to go over how I animate No Gods of Men all by hand. And so I'm going to just walk through my process while I'm animating the player who's going to be shooting fireballs from their hands. So let's get started. All right, so it all starts with these goofy gesture videos I make. Basically, I get in front of the camera and in front of my dog, and I make a bunch of these goofy, gestures. Ultimately, what I'm trying to do here is capture the anatomy of the animation that I want to make, right? So where my torso is moving or where my head is moving, the shape of my spine, where do the arms go? And once I have those videos captured, I then move into roughing those out. Now, those videos do help a little bit with pacing of the animation too, but not as much, mostly because I want to play with the pacing in the actual program while I'm drawing it out. In the timeline versus trying to capture that on the video itself. So once I've roughed out the basic skeleton of the gesture, I then move into detail, mostly in pencil. You can see I have the reference of the character that I'm animating over on the left. And so with this character, I actually like to start with the eyebrows. He's got some pretty thick, prominent eyebrows. And for me, at least, they serve as a good reference point for where everything else should sit on the face and then the body. And so with this animation, it's actually pretty short. It's just going to be about 4 frames because this should be pretty quick. When the player clicks the mouse, this should ultimately shoot a fireball from the hand of the player. And you really don't want that to last too long because then it'll feel kind of like a lag in the game. So, ultimately I want this to be a very quick but momentous animation. And so once I've got the details sketched out, I then move into inking. So I'm using at least for the style of this game, I'm using a thick marker in Clip Studio. And so with that thick marker, I basically trace over all of the detailed, the sketched details that I have here. Now, what I have found is I'm using Clip Studio on all of my animations here. I was using Photoshop and using the Photoshop timeline for quite a while, but I found that the Clip Studio timeline was a lot more intuitive. There's a lot of those small quality of life things that I enjoy too. For instance, when you copy and paste something, it copies it in place by default, versus in Photoshop, you kind of have to distinguish copy in place or just copy in a random place. So those sort of small quality of life differences are really why I ended up switching over to Clip Studio for the animation. So here, once I've inked out the details, now I'm just putting a big fat cartoony outline on the character. This is something I really like about this game. So I'm trying to keep a comic book or cartoony type of style. And so most things are going to have that big, thick, fat outline, which I really enjoy. Now I'm rendering the shadows just to give it a little bit more depth for the animation. And so yeah, with all of that, this is the final presentation of what the animation looks like in the game. And that's it for my second devlog. I also write this as a blog on the Steam page and on the website, nogodsofmen.com. So if you've got the time, go check it out, leave a like, leave some comments. And yeah, I guess I'll see you next month.